going on, everybody? Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports as we have some breaking news. Dalton Risner is re-signing with your Minnesota Vikings. This was broken by Adam Schefter about 30 minutes ago, and this was probably the most expected move this offseason. But he is re-signing with Minnesota on a one-year deal. He did start 11 games last season for the Vikings, and he made 15 appearances for Minnesota in 2023. He joined them after week 5, and he also is turning 29 years old in July. And we've seen Dalton Risner get on Twitter, make his remarks about him feeling disrespected that he wasn't able to get, a contract this summer because he saw the recent offensive contract or offensive lineman, the contracts they were getting, and he thought he deserved that as well. But I think Dalton Risner, this was expected. He has been very vocal about returning to Minnesota, that's the place he wants to be, even dating back to last season during the first 4 weeks when he was still unsigned. Like, he would get on Twitter and he would start liking tweets about Vikings fans tweeting at him saying, hey, come to Minnesota. We want you to join this offensive line. And I think Dalton Risner got his wish, and same with the Minnesota Vikings as well. But the contract details are a little interesting here. So this was broken down by Rappaport. And he says the Vikings are re-signing veteran guard Dalton Risner on a one-year deal that has a signing bonus per game and 53-man bonuses and incentives if he's the majority of the season starter, sources say. So no specific contract details just yet on the per year mark, but this seems all incentive based. We obviously know Risner did have some medical concerns before last season, but he stayed healthy all of last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how this contract plays out, but it looks like it is all incentive-based. And this is what I have the starting offensive line looking like for the Vikings right now. We'll talk about Blake Brandel a little bit more in depth here in a second, but if you're looking at this unit, I mean, the Vikings, when Dalton Risner was inserted to the starting lineup last season, the Vikings had one of the best offensive lines in the league. They were graded out according to PFF as one of the best run blocking and pass blocking offensive lines. And even though the Vikings didn't have a consistent run game last year, I chalk that more up to the running back position. But, you got your two bookend tackles. You got a solid left guard in Dalton Risner. Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram, they got the hills and valleys to their games. But if they could just become more consistent, you have 5 offensive linemen that you are really, trustworthy in. And I have Blake Brandel slotted as the backup left guard right now. He has played some swing tackle. He played a lot of snaps at right guard last season. I would assume it's going to be Dalton Risner stepping in there and starting, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll get to a little bit more on Brandel here in a second. But guys, make sure you are subscribed here to the channel. Anytime there's breaking news here, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. We're actually just in a meeting a couple minutes ago, and we dropped everything to get a video for you guys. So if you want to help me out, hit that subscribe button. Help us reach 26,000 subs. I would really appreciate it. All right, let's look at his PFF grades from last season. So overall rank of every offensive guard in the league, he was 46th out of 79. His overall grade, according to PFF, was 57.1. Run blocking grade at 50, and pass blocking grade at 67.4. Only was called for 3 penalties last year, but 0 sacks allowed, and that's the key part here with Dalton Risner. We always talk about, and this was more specifically with Kirk Cousins, coming into or when he was with the Minnesota Vikings, how he didn't handle interior pressure well. That's why I love this signing last year, because he is very good in the pass blocking department. 745 snaps, 0 sacks allowed. I mean, that's just fantastic for Dalton Risner. And, no matter if it's Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy, you want to protect that quarterback, and especially if it's pressure from the interior, Dalton Risner will be able to combat that a little bit. And this was expected and needed for Minnesota. If I had to chalk it up, the next free agent signing for the Vikings, I could have put my money on Dalton Risner, being re-signed. Not just because the Vikings had a glaring need at left guard, even though Chris Cupper was raving about Blake Brandel last week, but, he just didn't really feel like a true starter at that left guard spot. And, it was also needed for Minnesota. I fully expect that the Vikings will run out that 5-man offensive line group, but, maybe it changes. Maybe the Vikings go a different direction. They go Blake Brandel, and, they have Dalton Risner kind of be that backup interior offensive line option. They were even talking about him playing center a little bit last year, so he has versatility on the interior of the offensive line, but overall, I was not shocked by this move absolutely at all. But you guys let me know. Grade the signing for me. let me know what your thoughts are on Dalton Risner returning to Minnesota. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. My grade for this is a B+. This is not a needle-moving move at all. Like, this isn't going to change life for the Minnesota Vikings or, put them in the Super Bowl contention. No, but this was a much-needed move just to shore up this offensive line, because we can check out their PFF ranks right now from last season. Like, you got the 2 bookend tackles. Brian O'Neill, a little bit of a down year last season, only ranking 24th out of 81 offensive tackles. Ed Ingram, you already kind of mentioned it, the inconsistency with his game. Like, some weeks he looks like, Quentin Nelson, and then the other weeks, he just looks like a rotational offensive lineman. But he is still young, former second-round pick out of LSU. Garrett Bradbury, I am still waiting for him to take that kind of, that next leap, as he was a first-round pick, and, he just hasn't been consistent throughout his career. But, then you got Dalton Risner in there at that left guard. I just feel a lot more comfortable with this offensive line heading into the season in comparison to a guy like Blake Brandel starting. So what do you do with him now? I think he's going to go back to just being a rotational offensive lineman for Minnesota. I think you are going to see him, like, let's just say, knock on wood here, like if O'Neill or Darrisaw goes out due to injury, he could step in there and fill up that tackle spot. Even if, like, Risner or Ed Ingram, they go down, Brandel can step in there, pretty easily. And, he did play 146 snaps last year at right guard. So it's not like he had no experience on the interior of the offensive line. But, like, are you feeling really comfortable with him being your 17-game starter at left guard? Probably not. So overall, this unit, I'm very comfortable with it. And, the Vikings offense as a whole, man, like, you got great receivers, you've got a very good tight end room, and now you have a pretty solid offensive line as well. You picked up Aaron Jones this offseason. Like, my biggest takeaway from this, it's going to come down to the quarterback position, because the Vikings have the personnel now to be a top 10 offense in the league, no doubt about it. You got the best wide receiver in the league. You got a young and up-and-coming guy in Jordan Addison entering year 2. TJ Hawkinson, hopefully he comes back, coming off that torn ACL, MCL, and then you picked up Aaron Jones. You made, in my opinion, a good signing in Trent Sherfield to possibly be wide receiver 3. Like, I'm overall absolutely loving the moves that Kwesi has made this offseason. And you know what the next move is, everybody? You know what the next move is? It's extending Justin Jefferson. I promise you, that will be the next move that comes across our phones. That's the next notification we are going to get about the Vikings making a move, is extending 18. That's like kind of the last nail in the coffin of, in my opinion, a perfect offseason for the Vikings. He moved off Kirk Cousins and his, potentially massive contract if he would have been extended. You also got a franchise quarterback in, hopefully, J.J. McCarthy. Got a good bridge guy in Sam Darnold. Got a good running back in Aaron Jones. It all ended up working out. But you guys let me know, who's going to start at left guard for the Vikes this season? Give me a BB for Blake Brandel, or give me a DR for Dalton Risner. Overall, I just want to say thank you guys for watching today's show. Good signing by the Minnesota Vikings. Absolutely love the move. So if you guys haven't already, hit that sub button. Also, if you want to give me a follow on Twitter, that's the handle right there, at Pat Sieps. If you guys give me a follow, I'll give you guys a follow back. And just overall, good vibes and good mojo in Minnesota. Also, shout out to the Timberwolves getting a big win last night over the Dallas Mavericks. I'm not going to say it, but maybe Wolves in 7 isn't dead just yet. But we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Skol Vikes.